So the Final Destination franchise is without doubt my favourite contribution to the supernatural horror genre for reasons like its unique premise, creative death scenes that are brilliant at maintaining tension and keep you guessing until the very end, overall excellent use of score, historically reliable pacing and acting that could be justifiably described as utilitarian. However, the trait that earns the Final Destination series the aforementioned praise is that its antagonist isn't your traditional supernatural horror baddie. You know, the one, some generic as fuck spectre hell-bent on tormenting whatever rabble of dickheads discover its long-dormant plot device that sole purpose is to motivate said spectre to perform a plethora of predictably mundane jump scares. No sir. Final Destination's antagonist is death itself, taking no shape of any kind, making the everything on screen potential fatality fuel at any given moment. It's a distinctive vibe that's largely responsible for the compliments I listed earlier on in the paragraph, which I can sense is now more prolonged than Michael Bay's filmography. It's 1968 and Iris Campbell has a premonition about the restaurant tower playing host to a date she's on with her boyfriend collapsing harder than Piper Perry's cervix and thus stops it from becoming corporeal. Fast forward to present day and Iris's granddaughter Stephanie is having recurring nightmares about said premonition and seeks out Iris in the hope that it'll end the repetition. Stephanie discovers that death has been picking off the would-be survivors of the prevented collapse as well as their offspring because fuck it, why not? So it's up to her et al. To thwart death's intentions before she and her relatives become more deceased than the likelihood of me complying to the restraining order issued out by my fit Vietnamese neighbours. The death scenes, aka the foundations of the franchise's longevity, are innovative enough to avoid predictability. They're also distributed tastefully over the film reel, and I don't recall any of the coup de grace build-ups outstaying their welcome. As is traditionally the case with this series, the music and cinematography complemented everything. This was especially true during the demise segments as they helped dramatically in giving the environment and props an ominous screen presence. The fatalities are satisfactory and the movie overall is as gory as you'd expect for a rated 15, but the CGI is questionable in places. However, Bloodlines was working with a modest $50 million budget and clearly prioritised quantity over quality, a decision I usually endorse when it comes to movies of this nature. The acting is adequate, the characters are ubiquitous, which is fine. That level of quality regarding those particular elements of the feature suffices, as you're not watching a fucking Final Destination film for ARC or Oscar-worthy performances. What I will say though is that Bloodlines is certainly the most emotionally heavy offering from the franchise, which I get. The fate belonging to any character has a fuck ton more impact if you're emotionally invested in their story, but ultimately I feel such efforts are futile when you consider what initially motivates people to watch these movies. With that said though, this collection of cannon fodder comes closer than any other previous plebs on Death's hit list to breaking the fourth wall by ways of relatably trying to decipher how the metaphorical dominoes fall before the inevitable occurs. This fresh take on the character's perspective could have gone so very wrong, but turned out to be executed efficiently. A runtime of 110 minutes makes Bloodlines the longest chapter of the series so far, and I do theorise that's down to creative trying to inject more compassion into the proceedings, but since the occasion didn't really call for it, the near 2 hour duration suffered with pacing issues and felt more padded than my weed guy's wallet. Simply put, Bloodlines is another Final Destination movie. It adheres to its predecessor's recipe whilst adding a dash of its own flavourings that are palatable in their own right. Mostly. Despite that, the film is still a good time. I can't see the hardcore fanbase being unappreciative of this contribution to their beloved franchise, or at the very least they'll favour Bloodlines over Final Destination 4, which received less welcome than an Icomaniac at a sex doll convention.